Good morning to all. I welcome all of you in this lecture session. This is the lecture number 9 of the Turing machine. In the previous lecture, we had learned recursive language, recursive enumerable language, and the properties related with recursive and recursive enumerable language. But in this lecture, we are going to learn the following topics: post correspondence problem, universal Turing machine, Church Turing thesis, halting problem, decidable and undecidable problem. All these topics we are going to learn. Now, let us come to the first topic. The first topic is the post correspondence problem. In the short, it is also said to be a PCP problem. Now, listen carefully. First we will state the problem, next we will describe it. In this problem, you have to given two lists. Say it will be X and Y. These two lists will be of same length. Suppose the first list is this and the second list is this. So here we consider two lists X and Y of the same length N. We can say that there is a post correspondence solution if for some I1, I2, Ik such conditions satisfied. For some I1, I2, Ik such conditions satisfied. Look carefully to these conditions here. In this condition, Xi1, Yi1. Here is Xi1, Yi1. The index of X and index of Y are the same. Right? So the index of the first element of X and here the index of the first element of Y are the same. Again, here the index of X is I2, here is also I2. Again, I3, here I3, dash, here Ik, here Ik. Right? So that is clearly note this point. The index of X and Y will be same at the respective position. So first place the same index, second place will be also same index, third place will be also same index. Right? If such type of indexes exist which satisfy these conditions, then this PCP problem have a solution. If such type of index not exist, then we say this PCP problem have no solution. Right? So in this problem you have to given two sequences of the same length. You have to find such type of index order which satisfy these conditions. So in the condition you have to note that the index of X and index of Y at the respective position must be same. Right? If here I1, then here I1, here I2, I2, I3, I3, that Ik and Ik. If such condition is satisfied for this ordered pair, then this ordered pair will be the solution of this PCP problem. Right? So this will be the solution. Right? The solution will be in this form: ordered pair I1, I2, I3, that Ik. The value of I1 to Ik will be lie between 1 to n. Right? So this is the PCP problem. Now we shall solve some examples related to the PCP problem. Right? So now we will discuss one by one. The first example which we have taken here, find whether the list X and y have a post correspondence solutions. So in this problem you have to given two lists x and y whose length is 3, length at the first position, second position and third position, right? So here is also length 3, first, second and third. So here you have to given these two lists. You have to find the solution of this PCP problem if it exists. If not exist, then you have to say why the solution of this problem not exist, right? You have to give a reason behind it. But if the solution is exist, then you have to find the solution of this problem, right? So now we solve this problem. Now you have to find the solution. So when you have to find the solution, then you have to find the ordered pair of indexes. The value of index will be lie between 1 to 3 because here n is 3. The number of element in x is 3. Therefore the value of index will be 1 to 3. That is either 1, 2, 3, anything, right? So now you have to start. Take the value of x and y one by one. So you have to start like this. First you have to take the first element of x. The first element of x is a, b, b. Here the first element of y is b, b, a. Now you have to check this element can be taken as the first element or not. So clearly you can consider or you can take the first element of this list if one is a prefix of another. If one element is a prefix of another element, then you can start from 1. You can start from 1, right? Please remember. So here ABB is not prefix of this and BBA is also not prefix of this. So clearly neither this is a prefix of this, neither this is a prefix of this. So neither this prefix of this nor this prefix of this, right? So therefore you cannot start from first element. Now we start from second element. The second element is here double A, here is triple A. Now clearly look, double A is a prefix of triple A. Double A is a prefix of triple A, right? Therefore you can start from the second element. So here we consider the second element x2, y2, x2, y2. So first element we consider here x2, y2, right? So here you write double A, here you write triple A, right? So here you have written double A and here you have written triple A, right? So after writing 2A and triple A, now you have to find the which index will be next, right? Which index will be next, now you have to find. So look this and this. Here 2A, here 3A. Find the differences between these two. So clearly the difference between these two, 2A and 3A, 1A is greater in Y2, right? Is Y sequence. So 1A is more than in Y sequence than the X sequence, right? So here 1A is greater. So now you have to find the sequence of X where the starting element is A. Where the starting element is A, that element you can consider here as a second index. So here you have to find the first starting with A. So here X is start from A, here is also start from A, here is also start from A. So all these three elements are started with A. Therefore you can take any of these, right? So now we take the first element. The first element is ABB, right? So here put the ABB. Here we consider a X1. So second element is X1. So ABB. So here we put ABB. Now So if we put the second element here ABB, then here you have to again put the second element of Y. So second element of Y is triple A. Here you have to put the triple A. Now you have taken the first element, you have to also consider the first element BBA. So here we put BBA. Okay. Now you have to find the difference between this sequence and this sequence, right? So here triple A, double B, triple A and BBA, right? So here 1A is greater, 1A is here greater in Y. Now you have to consider the element which start from A. So here you have to consider this. So again start from this, again here. So in the first time we have considered this. Now we consider this third element. So here we put the third element, right? So here we put the third element. Again you have to put the third element of Y. So here we put the third element of Y, right? So here we put the third element of X. Therefore you have to also put the third element of Y, right? Now clearly these two sequences are equal. Here triple A, BB, triple A, triple A, BB, triple A. Clearly these two are equal, right? It means the solution of this problem exists, right? That solution are 213. 213. That solution is 213. So clearly this and this are equal here. These two sequences are equal. Or in which order they will be equal? The order is 213. So you have to find this order, right? So in this order the indexes may be repeated, right? Note this. So the indexes may be repeated. So here the indexes are 213, right? So this number is not a permutation number. Note that. So here 213, this is a first solution. Now the another solution of this problem is also exist. Another solution are 2, 3 and 3, 2 are also. 2, 3 you have to start from 2. Here we put A. Again you put A, triple A. Here you put triple A, double A. Both are equal. Clearly both are equal. Therefore 2, 3 and 3, 2 are also the solution of this problem, right? So this is the first problem related with the PCP. Now we come to the next problem. The next problem is you have to given here x equal to this and y equal to this. You have to find the solution of this problem. So clearly you have to apply the same procedure for finding the solution of this problem. Here you have to match this. So here the first symbol is A, B and here is also B. It means you can start from first symbol, right? Yeah, first element. So here if you put B here and here you have to put B here. Again the number of B in Y is 2 more than from X. So again you look the number of 2 B appear in these items. So clearly there is no item in X which are started with 2B. Here is also not started, here is also not started, here is also not started with a 2B, right? In this case these two sequences cannot be equal if you start from the first item, right? So here we start from second item, right? Look here, we start from second item B cube X and the second item here is BA. So here put the BA, right? So here you have to start from the second item. So now so you start from second item B cube, here B cube, here the second item is BA, right? Now here look the difference between this and this. So here after looking these two we find number of 3B is greater than number of elements in Y. Now, so here the number of 3b is greater. Now you have to find the element of y in which 3b appear before. So here clearly this is the element in which 3b appear before. So here you have to take this element, that is first element. So here we consider the first element. So if you put the first element here, then again you have to put here the first element. The first element is here b. The first element is here b, right? So here b cube b. Now again find the difference between these two. Here look, after a is 4b, here after a is 3b, right? So here is also number of 1b is greater. Again you have to consider here. So here we take the first element. So here we take the first element is again b cube. So again here you have to put the first element this. Next, find the difference between these two. So here after a 6b, here after a 5b, right? Now you have to find the next element from these two such that these two sequences are equal. So if we put the third element is this ba, so here put the third element is a. Here we put the third element is a. In this situation, these two sequences are equal. ba b cube triple b a, ba b cube triple b a, right? So these two sequences, clearly these two sequences are equal. But the order in this case is 2 1 1 3. Order is 2 1 1 3. So clearly the solution of this problem will be 2 1 1 3. So in this case the solution of the problem is 2 1 1 3, right? Now let us come to the next example. So next example is here x equal to this and y is this. You have to find out this post correspondence problem have a solution or not, right? So clearly the length of each item in y is less than the length of each item in x. Length is 2, here length is 1. Here length is 3, here length is 2. Here length is 5, here length is 3. So clearly the length of each item in y is less than the corresponding item in x. It means there is no sequence where such type of ordered pair exists where x sequence and y sequence are equal, right? So clearly this type of condition exists, therefore there is no solution for this problem, right? So in this case there is no solution for the problem because the length of each string in y is less than the each string in x, right? Clearly this, therefore this problem have no solution, right? So these are the some problems related with the PCP, right? So some problem you can also solve which have come in the examinations, right? So you can do as a homework. Now let us come to the next topics. The next topic is a modified post correspondence problem, that is MPCP problem, modified post correspondence problem. The some changes occur in this, only a minor changes is done in the PCP problem, it converted into a MPCP problem, modified post correspondence problem, only a minor changes. Here is also you have to give in a two sequences like a PCP problem, also the length of both sequences will be same. Here is also you have to find this type of ordered pair I1, I2, Ik which satisfy these conditions. So only change from the PCP problem is this conditions. In this condition, the first element will be always x1 and y1. Here it is compulsory. The first item will always be first item, right? So the first index will be always the 1 here, right? But in the PCP it may be anything, but here the first index will be always 1. The second to last index may be anything. Second to last index may be anything. xi1, xi2, xik may be anything. It may be anything, right? But the first index always will be 1. This is the only difference. Remaining things will be always same. xi1, yi1, xi2, yi2, xik, yik, right? So if such type of order pair exists which satisfy this condition, then MPCP problem have a solution. If such type of index not exist which satisfy this condition, then MPC problem have a no solution. Okay. Now let us come to the next topic. So next topic is the universal Turing machine. Universal Turing machine is a general Turing machine. Most general Turing machine. This Turing machine is equivalent to a general purpose computer. That is, a computer can do any type of task. Similarly, universal Turing machine also can do any type of task. Therefore, it is equivalent to a general purpose computer. It is equivalent to a general purpose computer. The difference between UTM, that is universal Turing machine, and a general purpose computer is that in the case of a computer, general purpose computer, there will be a finite size memory. General purpose computer uses a finite size memory, but UTM uses the infinite tape. That is, in this case we use the infinite tape. That is, infinite size of memory will be used in the case of UTM. But in the case of a general purpose computer, it uses a finite size memory. This is the difference between this, right? So everything, therefore we can say that a UTM is like a general purpose computer. Now, the UTM is a specified Turing machine that can simulate behavior of any Turing machine. That is, UTM can simulate the behavior of any Turing machine, right? So that is, this can work according to any type of Turing machine. If any Turing machine can perform some type of task, then UTM can also do that type of task, right? Next, UTM is a Turing machine that accepts the universal language, right? So this is the Turing machine which accepts the universal language. Now there is a question, which language is said to be the universal language? What type of language is said to be a universal language? Now let us discuss this. So universal language is defined as following. Here UL, that is universal language, is defined as this. So universal language is a set of ordered pair. In this ordered pair, the first element will be the Turing machine and the second element will be input string. The first element Turing machine, second element input string. So universal language is a set of this ordered pair. So M is a Turing machine that accept input string W. So M is a Turing machine which accept the string W, right? So UL is a set of that type of ordered pair. Now here, this is the block diagram of UTM. So UTM, that is universal Turing machine, takes two input values and produce some action, that is gives the output as a action. So the input which you have to pass in the UTM, that will be the first is the description of Turing machine. So this is the description of Turing machine and this is the input string. So description of Turing machine and the input string, you have to pass these two things here. So if you pass these two things here in the case of a UTM, universal Turing machine, the output of this will be either this, accept, reject, or goes into infinite loop. So if you pass these two input, the action of the machine is this. That is the first action. This string is accepted by this Turing machine. This string is rejected by this Turing machine or goes into infinite. So either it can accept, either it can reject or goes into infinite loop, right? So these three actions will be defined corresponding to a UTM. Now let us come to the next slide. Here the input to UTM, Universal Turing Machine, description of Turing machine, and second is the input string. That is, you have to pass these two as a input strings. As a input, the action which is performed by the UTM are this: simulate the Turing machine and behave like Turing machine. Right? So this simulate a Turing machine and behave like a Turing machine. That is the Turing machine which is sent as a input in the Universal Turing machine. According to that, your Universal Turing machine will work, will behave. Either it simulate. So here UTM, Universal Turing Machine, will be equivalent to a general purpose computer, right? But Turing machine will be equivalent to a program. So UTM is equivalent to a computer and the Turing machine is equivalent to a program, right? So one particular Turing machine is equivalent to a one program, but Universal Turing machine is equivalent to a particular computer. Computer can do a many type of task, but a program can do a one type of task, right? So a particular Turing machine can do a one fixed type of task, but Universal Turing machine can do a different type of task, right? Next, UTM is a recognizer but not a decider. It is a recognizer, it is not decider. That is, UTM can accept a strings. If you pass a some input string in the UTM, then that UTM can accept those, right? It cannot decider. That is, in this case, it cannot give any decision regarding to the input string. UTM takes an encoding of a Turing machine. The Turing machine is passed as an input into the Universal Turing machine. Therefore, how it will be passed into the Universal Turing machine? To pass the Turing machine in the UTM, in the Universal Turing machine, we encode the Turing machine. Some different type of encoding schemes are used to encode a Turing machine. The input data as its input into its step and behaves as that Turing machine on the input data, right? Now the next topic is Church-Turing thesis. Church-Turing thesis. Here it is explained, but in one line we say the statement of this Turing thesis is here explained here. In one line, the statement of Church-Turing thesis is that algorithm is equivalent to a Turing machine. Algorithm is equivalent to a Turing machine, right? So the meaning of this thesis is this. So an algorithm is equivalent to a Turing machine, right? So, but now we see the definition here. It states that if there exists an algorithm to solve a problem, then there exists a Turing machine to solve that problem and vice versa, right? So if there exists an algorithm to solve a problem, then there exists a Turing machine to solve that problem also. Similarly, if there exists a Turing machine to solve a problem, then there exists an algorithm that to solve that problem also, right? So we can say that it also states that a function on the natural numbers can be computed by an algorithm if and only if it is computable by a Turing machine, right? So that is if a function is computed by an algorithm, then that function is also computed by the Turing machine. If a function is computed by a Turing machine, then there exists an algorithm which compute that function. Similarly here, a problem can be solved by an algorithm if and only if it can be solved by a Turing machine. So a problem can be solved by an algorithm if and only if it can be solved by a Turing machine. Okay? So that is, we can say that if an algorithm can solve a problem, then there exists an Turing machine which can also solve the problem, and vice versa. In other words, we can say that if a problem is solved by a Turing machine, then it is also solved by the algorithm, right? So that it means that Church-Turing thesis, Church and Turing are the two scientists. Both have given a one statement, one concept, that algorithm and Turing machine are equivalent, right? So this is the Church-Turing thesis. Next is the halting problem. Are going to explain the halting problem. Look, the statement of the halting problem is here. This is the statement. Given Turing machine M and also given the input string W, right? Is it possible to determine whether the machine will ever halt on given input string? Is it possible to determine whether the machine will ever halt on given input string, right? So this statement is known as the halting problem. Is it possible to determine whether the machine will ever halt on given input string? So you have to give a machine and you have to give an input string. So you have to find out, you have to determine, is this machine halt on this input string or not? This is the halting problem. In other words, the halting problem is the problem of determining from a description of an arbitrary computer program, and an input, whether the program will finish running or continue to run forever, right? So this is the halting problem. Halt means the machine will stop or halt at final or non-final state after finite number of steps. So if the machine will stop at final or non-final state after finite number of steps. No halt means machine will never stop or halt, right? So we say that machine is go in the no halt state when it never stop, right? So this is the halting problem. Again, repeat the statement. In this problem, we have given a Turing machine M and the input string W. Is it possible to determine whether the machine M ever halt on given input string? Okay. Next, decidable or undecidable problem. So next topic is the decidable and undecidable problem. Clearly, a problem is said to be decidable if there exists an algorithm which can decide problem in finite amount of time. So a problem is said to be a decidable if there exists an algorithm which can decide the problem in finite amount of time. If it can be decided within a finite amount of time, then problem is said to be a decidable, right? So in this type of problem, the output of the algorithm will be yes or no. Output of the algorithm will be yes or no, right? The answer of decidable problem is yes or no. The problem is said to be undecidable if there does not exist an algorithm which can decide the problem in finite amount of time, right? So if there exists no algorithm which can decide the solution of the problem within a finite amount of time, then problem is said to be undecidable, right? Again we repeat the definition. A problem is said to be decidable if there exists an algorithm which can decide the problem in finite amount of time. That is, which can decide the answer, yeah, output of the problem in yes or no within a finite amount of time. Then problem is said to be decidable. Type of the problem which is said to be decidable problem: if the answer of the problem is either yes or no, then the problem will be said to be decidable problem. Next topic is the Turing decidable and Turing acceptable language. So a language L is said to be Turing decidable if there exists a Turing machine which can accept all the strings belong into L and rejects all the strings which do not belong into L. Okay, so a language L is said to be a Turing decidable if there exists a Turing machine which can accept all the strings belong into L and rejects all the strings which do not belong into L, right? So in this case the language L is said to be a Turing decidable. Next definition, Turing acceptable language. A language L is said to be Turing acceptable if there exists a Turing machine which can accept all the string belong into L, right? So a language L is said to be Turing acceptable if there exists a Turing machine which can accept all the string belong into L. So this is the definition of Turing decidable and Turing acceptable languages. Now let us come to the next slide. Now in this slide some undecidable problems are considered here. These are the some undecidable problems. The first problem is the halting problem. This problem is earlier discussed. In this problem you have to give in a Turing machine and you have to also give in a input string. You have to find out is this Turing machine halt on this input string or not, right? So the type of the problem is yes or no. If the string is accepted, the answer will be yes. If string is not accepted, the answer will be no. So halting problem is undecidable, right? That is, there exists no Turing machine, yeah, there exists no algorithm which can solve this problem. So clearly there exists no algorithm which can solve the halting problem. Therefore halting problem is said to be undecidable problem. The second problem is PCP problem. PCP problem is also undecidable. That is, there exists no algorithm which can compute the PCP problem within a finite amount of time. So if there exists no algorithm which can find the solution of PCP problem within a finite amount of time, then that problem is said to be undecidable. So here PCP problem is undecidable problem. Modified PCP problem is also undecidable. The next problem, for a context free grammar G, is LG ambiguous? Is the language generated by that grammar is ambiguous? If you have to give in a context free grammar, then it is find out whether LG is ambiguous or not. So this problem is also undecidable problem, right? That is, there exists no algorithm which can determine within a finite amount of time LG is ambiguous or not. The next problem is for two arbitrary context free grammar G1 and G2, deciding LG1 intersection LG2 equal to phi is also undecidable. That is, there exists no algorithm which can find out the intersection of two context free language is empty or not within a finite amount of time. Therefore this is known as a undecidable problem. So these are the some undecidable problem. Now let us come to the next slide. So in this slide we have mentioned some decidable problems. Decidable problem are those problem for which there exists an algorithm which can find the solutions or the output of the problem within a finite amount of time. The first decidable problem is this: for a given context free grammar G, to find out is LG is empty or not. If you have to given a context free grammar, then it find out that LG is empty or not. So this problem is decidable problem. So that is, you can make an algorithm which can determine LG is empty or not within a finite amount of time. The second problem is for a given context free grammar G, finding whether LG are finite or infinite is also decidable. Right? To determine LG is finite or infinite, this problem is also decidable. The next problem, for regular language L1 and L2, finding whether their union is regular. Right? If you have to given two regular languages, then it find out you have to check that L1 intersection L2 is regular or not, right? So you can make an algorithm which can determine the L1 in union L2 will be also regular. Therefore, this problem is decidable. The last problem is membership problem. In CFG is also decidable. Membership problem is also decidable. So now we explain the membership problem. You have to given a context free language, and also you have to given a particular string. You have to given a language, context free language, and also you have to given a string. You have to find out the element belong into L or not. You have to find out, you have to check the element is belong into L or not, right? So that is, for this problem you can make an algorithm which can find out the given element either belong into L or not, right? So therefore this problem is known as a decidable problem, right? So this is the last slide of this unit. That is, this is the last slide of the Turing machine. So now the Turing machine chapter is complete. Therefore now we are going to stop the Turing machine series, right? Okay, thank you.